what you can do with those is customize the way that Bluebeam looks for you. So if you notice that I'm in the Stiles operation profile, which most of you should have and be able to access, it is stored on Alice, and I'll show you where those are at the end if you don't already have it. But there's different ones. There's actually a construction one, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what you're going to notice is that kind of a bunch of different toolbars go away and come back. Most of them are similar, so you still have, your recent files tab, your bookmark tab, your page thumbnail tab, toolset, links, and then spaces. So now if I go ahead and I switch back to my Styles Operation tab, you'll notice I have those same ones except I've got layers added in here. Then over on the right hand side I have by default my measurements tool, my studio tool, my search tool, and my links. So that, just a minor change, maybe it's not so different. But let's say that I typically work on 2 monitors, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and share all of my monitors here. So you guys can see how this happens. And what's going to happen is I'm going to switch over to my multiple monitors profile. And now I've taken out and I've basically maximized screen 1 to look at a whole drawing or a whole plan, okay? And then on screen 2, I've got my markups list, all those other things that I was keeping on there, and then my tool set kind of separated out. So I'm utilizing the real estate of both screens instead of just one screen. Now I realize that we're not always all connected to 2 screens, so that's why I have 2 profiles that I flip back and forth between depending if I'm just working on my laptop or I'm working on multiple screens. And you can customize these and save them pretty easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up, for example, a drawing, and now you see how much more real estate that I have here when I'm working on this. It's not crunched down to that little tiny view that I was kind of working on with one. All right, it kind of shrinks everything down. So the way that you can do this is everything that you add, subtract as far as toolbars, as far as open views, can be saved in a profile. So if you want to create yourself a new profile, you click on the little drop down next to the profile dude, and then you're going to go ahead and click on the profile dude, and it's going to bring up your Manage Profiles button. So here's all the ones that are existing. Let's say that I just want to add one for today, call it Chris Langiza webinar. Okay. All right, and one of the things I've decided lately is I never use any of these buttons up here, so they're just taking up real estate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn some of those off. Those are actually called toolbars, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start turning some of them off, the ones that I don't use. You can turn them off one at a time like this, or you can go ahead and go to Customize, and then you can turn them off a bunch at a time. And I'm just going to kind of grab all of these and go ahead and hit OK. And now a whole bunch more of them disappeared. So I'm going to still keep getting rid of them because I want them all gone. I want a nice clean, nice clean look. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of all those. So maybe that's how I like my toolbar, and now I want to save that so that every time that I open Bluebeam, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to click the little drop down, make sure that it's on the toolbar, the profile that I want to save it to, and I'm going to hit Save Profile. So now if I flip back over to my multiple monitors, okay, we're back to multiple monitors again. Now I go back to my view. I'm going to switch back to that Chris Langiza webinar, and there I am. I'm back to that nice clean setup of what I have here. Okay. All right, we're going to go back. A lot of people are asking me to go back to one screen. I just wanted to show you the multiple screens there. So I'll go run through that one more time with you guys just seeing my main screen. Okay, so we got the main screen again. So that underneath that profile, we had the save profile. Okay, we can switch between the multiple monitors. We can switch between the Styles operations profile. Okay, and then if we want to create a new one, we just click on the bow tie guy, add a new one, you'll give it a name, it'll add it to your list, and then we go ahead and we hit OK, and that's what we're on. Okay, and then we can switch back and forth between those as we need to. Okay. Just for you guys to know, we had a couple questions of whether or not we're recording this. We are recording this, so I will post it once I get a chance to edit it and chop out a few things front and end, and then we'll go ahead and post it up where you guys can get after it afterwards. Okay. Okay. So let's move on a little bit to pinning files and pinning categories. So over on the left-hand side here, we have a file access tab, okay? And one of the notes that we have there is what's called pinned items. And you can see that I have different categories here. And the way that I do my categories, because I work on a lot of different jobs, is I do categories by project. Okay, so I've created a category for each one of the projects that I'm currently working on, and what I've basically done is I've created myself a link to the index file for each one of those projects. So if I need to quickly get to the drawings for 8th Avenue, I don't need to go in and search for the drawings. I just come over here and I say, all right, bring me to iPix drawings. Now I'm here and I can start going from there. I don't have to go and search for anything, navigate through any folders. So the way that I do that is once I've opened a file and navigated to it once the traditional way. Let's go ahead and open one. Let's just say that we want to go ahead and do one for Hollywood Circle. Okay, so I go into my project management, my drawings, my current drawings, all these clicks I have to do every time if I want to go navigate to my drawings. So now I'm going to go ahead and I just want to open up that cover sheet. That's going to go ahead and have that on it. So I'm just going to open that one up. All right. And now I'm going to jump to my index, which is my A0.1 sheet. So I want to pin this under Hollywood, okay? Now I don't have a Hollywood category right now, so I'm going to create one. So I'm going to come over to the file that I'm in, and the files that you have open are the ones that are bolded, and they're in an order of most recently opened, okay? So I'm going to click on this little pin button over the side, and it's going to say, where do you want to pin it? Do you just want to pin it, or do you want to put it in a category? Well, I want to put it in a category, but I don't have one for Hollywood Circle. So I'm going to hit New Category. I'm going to call this Hollywood Circle. Okay. And now you'll notice that I have Hollywood Circle as one of my categories, and then I have that drawing index linked to there. So I can quickly and easily just open up indexes for different jobs that I'm working on. Now, most of you probably aren't working on having indexes for multiple jobs, but you might want to have the first sheet in the plumbing set, or you might want to have the specifications pinned. There may be different things that you have available to you that you might want to pin over here to the left. So that's pinning individual files that you go to often. And you can also collapse all this, so if you want to hide it, clean it up a little bit, you can go ahead and do that as well. The one other cool thing about the recents, you can actually sort the recents by most accessed, which is really nice. Files that you go to a lot, okay? You can sort it by your access history. So I went to this today. Okay, what did I go to on Tuesday? I was working on something on Friday, and I can't remember what it was. Where was that file? So I can go ahead and jump back to the previous week, okay? I usually just keep mine in most recent date so that it just goes in chronological order. So that's the most recent files button. Right next to that is the most recent file explorer, okay? And what this is, it's just like your Windows Explorer on your computer. You can navigate to any folder on your computer. As you can see from my drop down here, I've got desktop, computer, documents, just like I would anywhere else. So let's say that I'm working on a project and I want to make a shortcut for myself. So I normally have to navigate to users, Chris, share a file, and I gotta go find the project I'm working on, iPick. So I really just want to jump to this all the time. This is really what I want to get to. I want to get to the iPick general folder structure every time. So if I click this little pin button here, okay, what you'll notice is now that goes as a shortcut at the bottom of this drop down, okay? So we go ahead and can just jump right to that location. So what I'll do is for different ones that I want to go to a lot, so maybe within iPick, I also want to have a shortcut to the current drawings. So I can go ahead and pin that one. So now I have the top one, which is the main, and the bottom one, which is the current drawings. Okay. Now, if it does get cut off, you just might need to expand so you can see exactly where it goes. All right. For me, I put different projects there, but it's a great way to save locations in a favorite folder structure so you can just get to things more quickly, okay? So that's about it for pinning files and folders. One of the things that I was talking about before is you get a whole bunch of files open and your top gets so crowded with all kinds of things that you don't know, where you just kind of get lost. You can't see the tabs anymore. There's too many of them. So let's say that, what I really want to work on is I really want to work on 8th Avenue. So I want to keep that drawing open and I want to close everything else. So if I just right click on it, I can hit close other tabs and boom, it's going to close everything out. Now, good thing to know is if there's been a change in that file, it's going to prompt you to save it. Okay, so it's going to give you an opportunity to save any file that you've made any changes. It's just not going to go ahead and close them all. It's going to give you the opportunity to go ahead and save whatever work that you've been working on. Okay, so I went ahead and I closed my tips and tricks. So I got to open that back up to see where we are. Okay, so we talked about profiles and tool sets. We talked about pinning files and folders. We talked about the close other tab. Let's talk about the email template function. Okay. So within Bluebeam, you can basically email any file that you have open, okay? So let's go ahead and just open an RFI that we might be working on, and I'm going to use iPick because I've already created myself a shortcut there. So I've got RFI 1 here. I'm going to open that up. So let's say that I just printed this and created this RFI from Prolog and saved it here. And I want to go ahead and send this to my entire team, okay? Normally, I might click on the email file. I might come over to Outlook, hit new email, put all the distribution in there, type in my subject, then click include, attach a file, or maybe use the share file link, okay? I'm going to save you a lot of steps. So we have what's called email templates in Bluebeam, and you can create them based on whatever need or use case you have. So I've already created one for 8th Avenue RFI, all right? And what's going to happen here is you'll notice that I'm going to click on this 8th Avenue RFI, and it pops me up a new email that's sent to a predetermined list of people. Okay, I have them BCC'd on the because I like to BCC people so people don't accidentally reply to all. Okay, I've got some verbiage in here that I've pre-populated, things that I used to put on project RFIs when I would send out RFIs to subs, like, hey, let's make sure that you get me back to me with any notification of any impact ASAP. You need to notify me within 3 business days if there's going to be a cost or schedule impact. And then what you'll notice, it already populates the subject of the email with the RFI number, if whatever you named your file. So it's RFI number 1, and then it puts that into the subject. Okay, so let's see how we create something like this. I'm not going to send that one. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit Manage My Email Templates, and it brings up your email template dialog box. So you'll see from this drop-down list that I have my 8th Avenue RFI one. I've populated this email to myself, okay, and then I could populate all of my subcontractors into my BCC ahead of time. And you can do this by just go ahead into Outlook, create an email with all the people that you normally see it in, send it to, and just literally copy and paste them in here. It uses the same tools that Outlook uses with the semicolon to separate individuals, and that's fine. Okay, and then I just go ahead and created my standard message that I typically would put in there. So if you have something that you typically write in every single RFI you have, you can go ahead and populate that in there. And then you've created that, and then each time it will just automatically attach that attachment, put all the verbiage in there, send it to the right people, and then you just have to literally go in there and hit the send button in Outlook, and you're good to go. So you can create as many of these as you want. Let's say that I want to create a new one for iPick, okay? So I'm going to send it to myself again. Okay, I'm going to put the subs or maybe the team members on this project. So I don't know everybody's email off the top of my head. So I'm going to create a new email. And let's see, we're going to go to Ashley Murphy. We're going to go to David Veet. We're going to go to Jose. We're going to go to Tim Garrett. Oops. Guess I haven't sent him an email before. We're going to go to, who else am I? Oh, Eric Pedrick. Okay. Okay, so I've created my list of people that I want to send this to. So now I can just literally cut and paste these, copy them, bring them over here. Maybe you want to CC them, maybe you want to BCC them. We go ahead and pop that in there, leave our schedule blank, whatever our verbiage is on here. Team, here is the response to RFI. And I usually put like an XXX in my template so that I can go ahead and fill the information in later. It's a trigger for me to know what to put it is. And then just, okay, so now I want to save this. I want to save this so I can reuse it over and over again. I hit save, and I'm going to call this iPick RFI template. Okay, got a bad email address in somewhere in here. Sometimes you may have to clean up the email addresses a little bit. They may come in a little funky. So just clean those up real quick. Okay, so now I can go ahead and use that template ahead in the future. So that's a tool that I don't know a lot of people use. Didn't know if you guys knew about it, and it is pretty useful, I find, to be able to use that to send stuff out on a regular basis. It could be insurance. It could be, I know the PAs send out a lot of information with the same exact email in it a million times over and over again, and you can populate the entire email with that and the right attachment, and then all you have to do is populate the to person each time. Okay. So that's the email template function. Okay, let's talk a little bit about using layers to separate markups. Okay, so we're marking up our drawings more and more these days, and we're putting a lot of information on them. So sometimes they can go ahead and get a little bit, kind of covered up. You can see that there's some markups on this, and they're kind of just floating in space. Okay, I could go ahead and click on them. They might get moved around by accident. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually save all those markups to a layer. All right, so you'll notice that I have one layer. I've clicked on my layer tab in the top left-hand corner here, and if that's not showing up, you can go to View, Tabs, and then Layers, okay, and that'll make your layer tab show up. And I have one layer, it's already called Navigation. So what happens if I turn that layer off? Well, that navigation bar that we have stamped on every page at the top goes away. So if I want to print a clean copy of something, I can just turn that off and send it to the printer. But all the rest of this stuff isn't on a layer. So how do I go ahead and put it on a layer? Well, all I have to do is flatten the document, and it's going to ask me where I want to put it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go grab all of these length measurements that have been put on here. So I've selected those, and I'm going to flatten these to a layer. So I go to Document, I hit the Flatten button. The first thing up the top says, do I want to allow for unflattening or markup recovery? Yeah, I want to be able to unflatten it. And then I really want to just go ahead and flatten the selected markups here. Okay, just the ones that I've picked. And then I want to put them on a layer. Okay, and I'm going to call this layer Measurements because they all seem to be measurements. Okay, so I go ahead and I do that, and I'm going to hit Flatten. Okay, so now I have measurements, and there I have a measurements layer, and I can go ahead and turn them off, and now they all disappear. So now it's a clean drawing, and I can see, oh, well, I still had some lines and some other stuff that are on the drawings that might have been flattened before that. I might want to clean that up too. Now there's also some additional options for layers. They can be turned on or off by default. So if you right click on them and hit layer properties, you can tell, hey, do I want this layer to show up all the time? Or do I only want it to show up when I want it to show up? So let's say measurements is not something that I want to show up all the time. It's just something that I want to keep track of, but I don't want the average person who goes in and opens the drawing to see it. So I'm going to put the default state to off. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. I'm going to close it. And I'm going to go ahead and go and reopen it. And you'll notice that when I open that file, those measurements don't show up anymore, but they're still there. I just have to turn the layer on, and there they are. Now I have them again. Okay, so that's really a nice tool. It's great for when you post RFIs or when you're posting other information to the drawings that you may not want just out there all the time, but you do want to track it. Maybe you had to mark something up so that you could go ahead and take a snapshot of it. You don't want to delete it. You just want to keep it there. You can flatten it to a layer and then have it off by default, and that allows you to go ahead and see that information when you want to see it. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about drawing logs from a set of drawings, okay? So we often get a new set of drawings from an architect, whether it be at bidding time, whether it be during the project as a revision, and we want to make a log if we didn't already get one, or we want to cross-check the log of what they gave us, okay? So let's go ahead and say that we have a set of drawings that we got from an architect. I'm going to go ahead and open one up. Let's use, just got a revision on iPic, so we'll go ahead and use that one. Okay. And I got about 12 or 15 sheets here that I've gone ahead and opened up. So the easiest way to actually create a revision log for this is we're actually going to combine these into one file. So we're going to use the combine tool, okay? And I'm just going to hit open files because I just want to combine the ones that I just opened up that I want to go ahead and make into my set, all right? Actually, that 2.0 was from the other job, so I'm going to close that one. So here's the revised sheets that I got. Okay, I'm going to use the file name as the page label. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and do that. So now I have a document that has all these revised sheets in them. All right. And what I want to do is I want to create a drawing log with the name, the sheet number and the sheet name. So if you haven't used it before, there's a tool in Bluebeam called Create Page Labels. You can go ahead and click on this, and it's going to say, where do you want to create your page labels from? We're just going to pick it off a place on the page. So I'm just going to hit Page Region. I'm going to go ahead and hit Select, and I'm going to grab this. Okay, and it says, oh, okay, I read that, and it says A0.2A. Okay, great. Well, I also want to include in that the name of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Add again. And I'm just going to grab, and I know that this title block should in theory be the same on every page. Now this does fall apart if the architect moves this stuff around on a sheet or doesn't use the same title block all the time. So every once in a while you will have a little bit of a hiccup with this, but it will do most of the work for you. So now we're going to see, oh, okay, I've got A2A, and it's the ground floor exit plan. I'm going to put a space in between those because I want to just clean it up just a tad. All right, I like that a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And what this is going to do is you can come over here and it's actually going to relabel all of my sheets with the page label and the name of the page. Just takes a minute to run. Depends on how many sheets you have. I mean, if you have 4,000 sheets, it's going to take a little bit longer. You might want to go get a cup of coffee. But I mean, we're doing 10 sheets here, and it's going to take just about a minute. Okay. So you can see that all of these pages have got their name and their title on them. So I've already got kind of half of my list done. Now the other thing we always do is we always stamp our drawings received. As you can see, there's already a stamp on these pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pretend that I didn't already put that stamp there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp these pages received. Okay. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to stamp one page. Okay. And then I'm going to just apply that to all pages. So I've put my date stamp for today on here. We're putting that, and I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to hit apply to all pages. And what it's going to literally do is it's going to take that stamp and it's going to place it on every single page throughout the document in that same exact location. So now you can see that I've gone ahead and I've stamped every single one here. What you'll also notice is that my page that they're placed on is already here too. So I've already created kind of a list of all of my drawings. So now really all what I need to do is I'm going to turn off a couple of these columns. All I really want to see is the page name and maybe the date that I stamped it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn off status. We're going to turn off space. I don't need to know the author. Turn off some of these other ones. Count. Okay. Oh, one more. Okay. And subject. So now I've got the page name and the date that I stamped it or the date I received it. Okay. So now if I want a summary of all these sheets that I've gone ahead and received, all I have to do is create a little CSV report by doing a summary, CSV summary. Okay. We're going to exclude any markups that are hidden, exclude all those columns that I just hid, and go ahead and hit OK. I'm just going to save it somewhere, put it right on my desktop. We'll call it webinar drawing log. Hit OK. Open that up. I've got a drawing log of every sheet that was sent to me. Okay, pretty quick and easy. That was only 10 sheets. Maybe it would have taken you 10 or 15 minutes to do that manually, but if you go ahead and do it automatically for 100 sheets, it'll save you a lot of time. You can then do some wizardry in Excel and strip out the page. If you just go ahead a find and replace. Okay, grab all the pages. We don't really want that, so we're going to take that out. Just replace that. Replace those all. So now we've gone ahead and stripped out all the pages. And then you can also, if you want, I can help you write a formula that'll separate the page number and the page title, because I know that's how we do our drawing logs a lot of the time now. So there's some tricks to take that a little bit further, and if you need some help with that, go ahead and just let me know. Okay? All right. So we're about halfway through here, and I do want to leave some times for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back to, where's my tips and tricks? Okay. All right, so we talked about a drawing log. Next up is toolset modes, properties mode versus style mode. Okay. So let's just say that you're working with your tool sets. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there are actually two different modes of your tools. Okay, what you're seeing right now is what's called properties mode, which it will copy the properties from one markup to the next. So if I do this architectural call out and I want to do a call out about my email template, okay, I've created that call out and placed it there. All right, so now every time that I use that tool that's in properties mode, it's basically just using the same color, the same size font, the same text, the same line weight for me to place it. Well, there's also what's called the style mode, which is actually copying exactly what you had before. So if I go ahead and use this tool now, you can see that I'm placing the exact same markup that I was before. Okay. So this is really useful for things that you use a lot. Let's say this postage stamp. This is something that I want to place the exact same markup every single time. But then I decide, you know what, I just really like that font and that color and that size. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to turn one into a text one so that now I can just go ahead and make text boxes that'll look like the same text and everything. Okay. So that's the difference between styles mode and property mode, and that kind of allows you to use tools in two different ways. And some of these tools that you'll see in the typical styles tool sets are actually the same tools. They're just one is a property mode and one is a style mode. And to change between them, all you have to do is go ahead and double click on them, and you'll notice that they change between the two modes. You can also right click, okay, and you can change it from properties mode to drawing mode. Sorry, I kept calling it style mode. It's called drawing mode, okay? All right. So let's go ahead and grab my markups. We'll clean all this up. All right. Okay, the last tool that is really helpful to people, especially if you're reviewing documents, whether it be a change order, a pay application, specifications, contractor bids, and you want to highlight things in there. You can use the highlight tool, and where's my highlight tool? I must have turned it off by accident, okay? So if you ever are missing a tool, there's two places to come for them. You can come up to the markup, okay? And the highlight tool is actually under the pen tool, okay? There's also an H shortcut, so if I'm just in there and I want to hit H, it'll change me to the highlighter mode, okay? And then if I want that to show back up again, I can go back over to my view, I can hit my toolbars, and I believe that that one is under shapes. Let's try. There we go, it's under text. So I'm just going to place those over here to the right because I like to have those all the time. I'm going to resave my profile because I accidentally turned those off before. Okay, so I come over, I click on my highlighter. Now there's two ways to highlight. There's freehand drawing highlighting, okay? And then if Bluebeam recognizes that you have text and you want to highlight something, it will select the text for you, okay? So now I've just highlighted just that text. Probably not a good example because I have a black background and you can't exactly see it, but it's there. So you'll notice that down here in the bottom, let me turn some of my columns back on, and in the comments, we need author and comments. You'll notice that what I highlighted was pinning files and folders, and it copied that text into the comments folder. Now why that's useful, if I'm reviewing a set of specifications, for example, and I want to make a submittal register list, I can build my submittal register list by literally just highlighting things. Let's say, for example, that this said concrete shop drawings. So if I just highlight that concrete shop drawings, it automatically copies what is in my comments down into, or what I highlighted into my comments. Now that's not turned on by default. You actually do have to turn that on manually, probably the first time you want to use it. So where that is you go to the settings R in the top right hand corner, and you go ahead and hit preferences. Then if you go ahead, now mine just came up to it, but if you need to, you go to the markup tab, and then you'll notice that there's a checkbox here that says copy selected text into markups. So if you're using the highlight, the underline, the squiggly, or the strike through, it will go ahead and copy that text in there. So by default, that's probably off. If you check it on, it will stay there. Now, one trick, you cannot retroactively use it. So if I have it turned off and I highlight a bunch of stuff and then I turn it on, it's not going to grab all that text. Now you can always come in here and clear the text out. So I just leave it on by default so that if I want to capture the text, I've already done it and put it into the comments. So it's a good tool. I've made some tools that I've used when doing spec review for things like I have a question about this was a submittal, this was a shop drawing, and the way that we use that is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Ashley's job again. I'm going to go to iPick, okay, go to her specifications, and let's just go ahead and go into like Division 2. So there's somewhere in here probably something that says submittals. Well, it's not. Why don't we just search for it? So I'm going to type in submittal. All right, so now I jump. Here's my first one, okay? So this is site grading. We have a submittal. They want a report of certification of any off-site sill materials, okay? So this is a submittal. I'm just going to highlight it, okay? And then you'll notice it pops in there of all this. Now you can go ahead and add more columns. Like I have a column in here that I believe says specification section. Or did I take it off? So let's create one that's called specification section. I'm going to do a custom column. I'm going to hit add spec section. Okay, so now I could go in there and I could say, oh, this is from section 02210. Okay, I can go a little bit more. I need shop drawings and samples. So I can grab as many of these as I want. Okay. All right, and just keep adding them to my list. All right. Now, when I populate that list, if I want to take that list out, I can just do my summary CSV report again. And now I can go ahead and use that to populate my prologue. With a little bit of cleanup, I can populate my prologue submittal register. Okay, and it's a great way to, when you start a job, to automatically make a list of all those things that you need to submit pretty quickly just by reading through the specifications and highlighting some things. Okay, all right, close those. Don't need those anymore. I got too many things open again. I just really want to go back to tips and tricks. Just right click, close other tabs. It says, do you want to save these 2 items? No, I don't want to go ahead and save them. Okay. So those were the tips and tricks that I came up for today. I did have a couple of polls, so I'm going to shoot out a couple of polls here and see what you guys come back with, and then I'm going to double check in with the questions and see how many people have some more questions to go through. All right, I'm seeing some questions that are already in here, so I'm going to kind of hit these. One of the first ones was Ross asked, how do you copy a snapshot of a drawing and include it in an email? Okay, so great question, Ross. That's a really good question. So let's go ahead and open up one of my drawings. We're going to go to 8th Avenue, since that's your job. Let's say that I want to go ahead and grab a snapshot of this area. Okay, so what I would do is there's probably the easiest way is to go ahead and use your edit tool snapshot. Okay, that's the little camera. So I'm going to take a picture of this little area here, and then I just realized, wait a minute, I probably want to include those dimensions that I put on that layer earlier, right? So let's make sure that they're showing up. So I'm going to take that snapshot again. Here's my snapshot. Then I'm just going to hit New Document. Okay. Just creating a blank page, basically. If I right click, I can paste it, resize it, okay? And now it's on a sheet if I want to make any more special comments to it. All right, so that's one way, and then I could just use my email tab and it'll send that as it is. Now the other way, Ross, is you can literally just paste those things. Once you take a snapshot of something, that snapshot is still stored. So I just come over here and hit New Email. I'm going to send it to Ross. Just going to right click and paste, and there's my snapshot. So if you don't need to do any more markup to it than that, we'll go ahead and do that. Oops, sorry. Did nobody see any of that? I'm going to close that. I apologize. All right, let me go through that one more time. I didn't realize that the poll was over the top of everything. Okay, so does everybody see my screen now? Okay, so back to that. So we're in the drawing that we want to use. Okay, so step 1 is I'm going to use my snapshot tool up the top here. Shortcut is G. If you hover over anything, it will tell you what the shortcut is if you're a shortcut person. Okay, I just click and drag a box over what I want to select. All right, and then if I want a clean page to put some additional notes on, I can go ahead and just hit the New Document up in the left-hand corner. It'll create a new blank page for me. I can go ahead and hit Paste, resize it. Maybe I want to make a few more notes. Okay, cloud some more stuff up here. Okay. And now I can just hit my email button and it will populate that in an email. I can send it off to whoever I want to. Now the other way is you can literally just cut and paste that right. If you don't need to mark anything else more than you already have, just do your snapshot tool, go ahead and grab it, go ahead and switch over to Outlook. Oops. We'll get a new fresh email, hit New Email, okay. Whoever I'm sending it to Ross, and then I just right click and paste, and then there we go. We've pasted that snapshot in there. Now that snapshot can be resized, okay, and put in there however you want. All right, and then you can type whatever email that you have to go on with that. Now one thing I will tell you is that we didn't touch on this today, but I can touch on it another time, is you can actually create templates for these blank pages. So I just hit create a blank page for me, but there's also templates that are already built into Bluebeam based on what you're doing, and you can make your own as well. There's actually an RFI form built in here, so if I wanted like a fake blank RFI, I can hit that, I hit OK. You can see that it comes up with kind of a form for me, okay? And then you could go ahead and paste that image in there. So if you had something that you wanted to create a form for a job with might be like a field issue or something like that, to go ahead and create it and have a nice little template for yourself, let us know in VDC. We'll help you set one of those up. It's just a PDF all flattened out for you. It can even have text boxes pre-populated in for it, and we can help you guys create that if there's something that you want to create for an issue there. All right. Okay, so I think we go ahead and we answered Ross's question. Okay, a couple of questions. Some people asked about the profile on the iPad. So there is no profiles on the iPad. You can only bring in existing tool sets on the iPad. So you can use the same tool sets that we have here on your iPad and send those over to yourself either via an email or bring them in from ShareFile. You can bring tool sets in, but there is no custom profiles for everybody to look the same on an iPad. You can actually open up the profiles on an iPad, but it will only bring in the tool sets. It won't save all of the viewpoints for it as of today. Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions that haven't been answered by Oscar or myself. So I'm going to go ahead and put out one more poll out there and go ahead and launch that. And then that'll be the end of today's training. And I appreciate you guys all showing up and coming. If you have any questions or any other independent questions about Bluebeam, feel free to go ahead and come over to my office and see me or Oscar, and we're more than happy to help you guys out. So thanks again for coming, and then once you've voted in this last poll, please feel free to sign off and go enjoy the rest of your lunch.